Let's go.
Let's go.
Please tune your speakers for maximum bass response and enjoy the show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, a story to tell.
It's hard to encapsulate my 2020 and 2021 in a brief statement. It's really been quite a journey. I think all of us have had an insane journey. Mine in particular was sparked by Jazzy Jeff sort of telling me it was time for me to start live streaming. And so I really got on a kick last year, once a week, of taking the live mixtape, which I've done for many years, and transforming it into a thing I could do from home in my studio on turntables. And it really created an amazing amount of energy and activity and just love, that kind of kept me going last year. And kind of gave me the last surge of energy I needed to finish what has been, this tremendous undertaking, my debut album, which I've been working for about 5 years on. So all of that really fueled me to finish it and finally put it out. So my 2021 has been all about story to tell, and starting to drop them chapter by chapter.
This is Dave Chappelle, welcoming you to J.PERIOD presents A Story to Tell.
To be honest, it's the whole project Story to Tell has been a long time in the making. I've been working on it in one form or another for like 5 years, going back and forth to LA, and working with a lot of folks out there, recording out there. So during the pandemic, it really was sort of an opportunity to get the folks who had been exceptionally busy, the rest of normal times, and now they were at home. So, Dave Chappelle was stationary. It took a 9-hour drive to Yellow Springs to get him as, the sort of narrator of my storybook. But that was an idea hatched almost 2 years ago. And I asked him about a year and a half ago, actually even more now, probably close to 2 years ago. And he said, yes, but there wasn't an opportunity until the pandemic to actually get in front of him and make it real. So that was a plus. The whole album is pretty much done. It's just sort of the last two parts are being mixed and mastered now. We're kind of keeping under wraps what's on there, but it's definitely some exciting stuff. But chapter one really is to sort of look at this kind of like modern day book and record set. I did I don't even know if I have them here, but I did an interview recently where I actually had my my book and record sets, the original ones that inspired this album. But that was kind of the idea. And so I have Dave, kind of when you hear this sound, turn the page and that sort of thing. And experimenting with telling stories in a new way. I've told stories for my whole career on these mixtapes, but they've been other people's stories. And to tell my story, my mission became getting these incredible storytellers together to help do that. And so chapter one is very linear. Bobito walks away from the basketball game into the New York City street, into the bodega, and that kind of segues into our next song. So not every chapter is built like that, but that's the idea of chapter one, is introducing this idea of music and story kind of woven together. As of now, we're probably looking at June for chapter two, June, July, let's say, and July, August for chapter three. Part of that is about people's attention span and just the way that music is consumed now. So I thought breaking it up into parts, I've done that with a couple mixtapes where we broke it into segments like The Messengers, and it became this really cool way of kind of keeping people involved. So we're experimenting, a little bit with this, but I think it works well because people get a little sort of bite-sized thing and it makes them want more. And, we have sort of cliffhangers, little teasers of the next chapter at the end of each chapter. So at the end of chapter one, you get a little taste of, the jazz club that we're going to go into to start off chapter two. And that's, sort of all I'll tell you is that we start in a jazz club with an incredible combination of artists for chapter two. My relationship with Black Thought sort of starts when I do the Roots mixtape, the Best of the Roots in 2006. And, it was sort of something for the label. And so, he kind of lended his time to doing some freestyles, and there was just a chemistry there. I don't think I had any idea what it would evolve into, but later I started doing these live mixtapes and I invited him as one of the guests at Brooklyn Hip Hop Festival. And it was at that show that someone in the audience who produced another festival saw us and said, well, what would it be like if we just got you and you together? And that was kind of where it formed, because I put together a whole show. Normally that would be for multiple artists, but Black Thought can embody all of these artists on his own. So it just became a really interesting experiment that evolved and evolved. And, at the Roots Picnic, we have our sort of pick of the most amazing artists to get up on stage and rock with us. And that relationship has just been awesome. I'm grateful for Black Thought. Artists that I have not worked with that I'd like to work with. I've had an ongoing conversation with Common about a mixtape for many years. Alicia Keys is another artist that I've talked to about doing a mixtape for many years. We once did a live rendition of Hail Mary. There's video floating around on the internet of this, but oh Lord, like it was awesome. I'd say beyond that, there's so many artists that I would love to work with. I don't even think I could list them all, but this year has been pretty exceptional getting to work with Dave Chappelle and, Black Thought and Lin-Manuel Miranda and just, some incredible artists. So I'm grateful for all of it. The DJ stuff and the mixtape stuff led me to production. Which now has me doing this album, but for years my production would kind of show up in various places. So I did video games, I did DJ Hero, I did a Tony Hawk video game and stuff like that. And one of the tracks from one of my mixtapes ended up in a movie trailer. So it's opened up these crazy pathways. And the Brooklyn Nets opportunity came about because I literally was DJing an event, and this guy that was there was the chairman of the Nets, and it was while they were trying to figure out what was going on. And I got a great introduction, and then things didn't work out with the guy that they had at first in mind. And I know my basketball, so when given the opportunity, I sort of proposed a whole new idea, which was to create a soundtrack for the game, not just have a DJ playing it in the breaks. And that kind of got a lot of press, so it turned into opportunities with the NBA and other things. And I think that just being consistent over many, many years has led, certain institutions to become aware of what I do. But the Kennedy Center Hip Hop Culture Council is, owing entirely to Q-Tip. They named him the artistic director, and I, had just incredible working relationship with him since I did my mixtape with him in 2008. I, toured DJ when he did his Beats One show for Apple. I was kind of assistant producer for the first 6 months just to kind of get it going. And so, when I was tapped for that, I imagined it was like a 250 person list. I didn't realize it was like, 18 people, and, the other 17 are all legendary folks. So, I think I exist in a very specific area where I'm kind of between music and storytelling. And so I think in terms of the Culture Council, that's what I've tasked myself with doing, is kind of bringing them opportunities and trying to help tell hip hop stories on that incredible stage that is the Kennedy Center. Well, I think for me, the future holds a lot. It's sort of funny, but 15 years worth of work is only being discovered now by a lot of people because of my album, and it's introducing folks to what I do, and I think it's very specific, and there's a lot of applications. So we're having all kinds of interesting conversations about what form the live mixtape could take. Is there a documentary version of one of these mixtapes? And beyond that, I think storytelling through strictly audio has been my thing, but what happens if you add a visual component to that and really tell the story? So I think that's what the future holds. I've built my whole kind of life around this idea of telling stories through music. And I think it's not a coincidence, it's really a combination that's a powerful combination. And so I think if you understand both of those things and you can mix it together, there's a lot of possibilities. So, we'll see. I definitely got to shout out Fusicology. I've been rocking with Asia and Fusicology for many, many years, back to my weekly event days. So, those of us that have survived all this time, we have respect for each other and we got to give props. So definitely shout out Fusicology. Listen, shout out my whole squad and, everybody, Jigsaw, Ashley Fox, Salim, the newest member of the squad, who's just helping us make all these amazing things happen. I must shout out Dan Lish, who's our incredible artist who's created the cover, and Joe Vaccarino, also Stellar Hawk, who's done all these animations. Our story wouldn't be the same without these visuals. And shout out to Elise Farrell. There's a long list of folks. Guy Route said to say also peace to you. I've got a lot of great and smart friends who I consult, through all these ideas. It's definitely it takes a village mentality. So shout out to everybody, and appreciate you and appreciate everybody for tuning in.